What's up everyone, welcome back to another Fantasy Puck video. The snow is officially here up in Canada, so the toque will be on for this video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you the streaming schedule for week 8 of fantasy hockey, as well as breaking down some of my favorite must-add players going into week 8. This is going to be a good video, guys, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. The week 8 schedule is a little bit weird. It seems like the roles have kind of been reversed in terms of the dates. So the light nights for this week, and those are the nights that we're going to want to target some of the players. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and you can honestly mix in Monday there as well, because there is 7 games relative to Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, where there's going to be 15 games on Wednesday, 15 games on Friday, and then another 11 games on Saturday. So an extremely busy schedule for the Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And I don't really know why the NHL continues to do this with 0 games on Thursday night, 1 game on Tuesday night. For some reason, they're just, I don't know, the schedule's been in complete flux this year, and I wish the games were spread out a little bit more. The difficulties you have in your fantasy lineup on a week-to-week basis are those Wednesday and Friday nights when there's 15 total games. You can't really stream anybody. You're going to have to make really difficult decisions in terms of who to bench on those nights, and some of your good players may honestly end up on the bench because your entire fantasy lineup will be playing, whereas on Thursday, it's just completely empty. You don't even get to watch hockey or look at the score, look at your fantasy matchups. But the nights that I'm going to be looking to target for this week are Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday. Obviously not Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, those are kind of the lighter nights where you should be able to stream players. There are a few teams that have decent schedules, but because we don't have 4 off nights this week, there is really no major team that I'm going to be looking to stream from that has a really good 4 off night schedule this week. So the 3 teams that I'm going to be targeting for this week are the Dallas Stars, Ottawa Senators, and Washington Capitals. All 3 of these teams have 4 games and 2 off night games. They're the only teams that have that type of schedule going into week 8. Now, you have to make sure that you're assessing your lineup on the Monday night because there is 7 games. So look at your roster and make sure that you know what positions you will need for the Monday night. Is it a center, a winger, a defenseman? Can you stream a goaltender? So keep an eye out and make sure you're analyzing your roster, especially for the Monday night when there's 7 games, because there is a possibility that you add a player because he has a really good schedule from these teams, but then you go and look and you already have 4 defensemen playing on Monday night. So just keep an eye on that and make sure you're picking up guys that can fill an open roster spot or a player that isn't playing for that night. Now on Tuesday, there's just 1 game, so it shouldn't be a problem. Sunday, there's 4 games again, so it shouldn't be a major problem. There's a very low chance in a 4-game night that you're going to have it in full roster. But this week seems like a decent week to be looking to stream some goaltenders, especially with the huge back-to-backs on Friday and Saturday. So that will be talked about a little bit later in this video. So let's jump into some of my favorite streaming options for week 8. So there's not really a big mix of Power Play 1. That's kind of what I like to look at. Power Play 1 guys or guys that have been producing at a really good level. But there are some decent options going into week 8. First off, Tyler Seguin of the Dallas Stars, center, right wing eligible. The shot volume's been there. He's skating about 17 minutes per night. He's not on the top power play unit. He was just for a little bit when Rupe Hintz was there. So Seguin, you're going to get a guy that's going to be playing about 17 minutes per night. Good shot volume and point upside. Again, the stream options are very limited this week, so nothing like overly exciting. But I think for me, with the position eligibility in Tyler Seguin, he's probably one of the more attractive players in terms of picking them up going into week 8. Moving on, we have Claude Giroux of the Ottawa Senators, left wing, right wing eligible. I think he may be the guy that I'm going to look to add in a lot of my leagues, just because I like the left wing, right wing eligibility. I have a lot of centers on my team, so I think Claude Giroux will be the prime piece that I'm going to be looking to pick up going into week 8. Just 17% rostered. He is on power play 2 right now, but the minutes have been really good, and his production over the last couple of weeks have been pretty good. So Claude Giroux is my number 2 streamer going into week 8. Shane Pinto here of the Ottawa Senators. The reason why I have him a little bit lower is because he's just center eligible. And the roster percentage is very high, meaning you may not be able to find him across some of those deeper leagues, but still love the upside with Pinto, who has a really cooled off, but still always possesses that really strong shot volume and goal scoring upside. Connor McMichael here at number 4, the first player from the Washington Capitals. They don't really have a lot of strong streaming players because their power play one is very high owned, and some of their top 6 guys are also pretty high owned. But with McMichael here, a former 30 goal scorer just last year, hasn't really been producing at a high pace that we saw last season. But center right wing eligibility gives you a lot of flexibility, and 13% rostered means in those 14 team leagues, there's a good chance that McMichael you'll be able to add him from your free agency. Ryan Leonard has been a very peculiar case this season. He's a rookie, and the minutes have been kind of all over the place. He was moved up to the top power play unit just briefly, and then moved back down once John Carlson returned back to the lineup. Right wing eligible, just 7% rostered right now. It's a big thing of just monitoring his minutes. If you go look, there's games where he plays 15, 16. But there's also games where he plays under 10. The shot and hit volume mix have been very strong this year, given the minutes he's played. But I think he's a much more deeper league option for me. Lastly, Sam Steele, the Dallas Stars. The minutes have been really good for Steele, and it was really hard to pick out some other strong streaming options, but he's played about 18 minutes per night right now. The points haven't been too good. That's why I have him as my last pick for the top streamers here of the forward group. But at 0% rostered, if you're in those 16, 18 team leagues, and a lot of these guys are rostered, I probably would look to Sam Steele of the Dallas Stars. Now, you're going to laugh at this, but there isn't a lot of good defensemen that I could honestly recommend for you for week 8. There's no power play one defenseman available. There's not really any defenseman that is super good from a peripheral standpoint. So I picked out 3 guys, one from each team that I think have the most upside going into week 8. Starting off with Artem Zub of the Ottawa Senators. With Thomas Chabot injured, Zub is now playing 22 plus minutes per night. Pretty strong from a peripheral standpoint, shots, hits, and blocks. He's going to be playing a lot of minutes this week, especially with the absence of Thomas Chabot. So I like the upside there from Zub. Should be skating in the top 4. I don't think he's power play 2. It's Jordan Spence right now. So you're not really getting any of that power play upside. But I think from a shots, blocks, and hit standpoint, Zub has the most upside across the 3 categories. Now, Lion Bichelle of the Dallas Stars, who I have a futures bet on to lead the league in hits right now, and that's basically what you're picking up Bichelle for. If you're looking to stream hits for the week or just win your hit category, Bichelle, 4 games, 2 games on the off night this week at 18% rostered, a top 5 hitting player in the NHL. So this is a guy that will likely get you about 20 hits in those 4 games, which is really strong upside, and you can kind of not have to worry about that category as much in week 8. Lastly, Matt Roy of the Washington Capitals, very similar to Artem Zub, where you're just going to get a guy that's going to be really strong from a peripheral standpoint, but guys that are good from a peripheral standpoint, especially in points leagues, typically have a pretty high floor, and you're not heavily reliant on them getting a goal or a couple of assists to put up those 5 to 10 points in your points leagues. Whereas if they get 3 blocks, 2 hits, and 2 shots, they're hitting that 5-point mark, which is speaks to the floor of some of these players. So Matt Roy at 2% rostered would be the last defenseman that I would look to stream, but I'm going to have a list in the next slide of a bunch of goaltenders that have good schedules in back-to-back nights that you can stream on top of your defensemen and your forwards for this week. So with such a weird week of schedule this week, there isn't a lot of back-to-back games except for on Friday and Saturday, where there's 15 games into 11 games. So there's a lot of good streaming goalie options. But other than that, in the week, there really isn't many back-to-backs and goalies that you can look to pick up and stream from. So in points leagues, and I've emphasized this before, in points leagues, I think it's the best option to be streaming goaltenders as much as you can. If you have 4 ads for the week, probably using 2 or 3 of those ads for goaltenders makes the most sense because their floors are typically the highest, but you have to make sure you're picking goaltenders in really good matchups. So this is the order. All of these goalies play on the Saturday night on November 29th. So this is the order of goalies I would look to add given their matchups. So starting off with Jake Allen of the Philadelphia Flyers, plays on Saturday. Markstrom has not been good, but I assume Markstrom is going to get the Friday night start, and Allen will be starting at home against the Philadelphia Flyers. Flyers are bottom 5 in the league for goal scoring. So Allen should be having a good matchup at home here. I know with Jack Hughes, it probably makes the matchup a little bit worse from them actually winning the game, but I think they should still be pretty heavy favorites in this matchup. And when you're looking to stream goalies, just take a look. If you use the Score app or the NHL app, take a look at what team is highly favored and the goalie that's starting from that team, as well as look at their in-game totals. So I use the Score app personally. So if I'm looking at this matchup on Saturday and I see a 5.5 total and a -165 favorite for the New Jersey Devils, that means Allen has a very strong chance to win in a low total game. So that's how I kind of assess the goaltenders here. Now, Jesper Wallstedt, he may actually be owned in a lot of leagues. He's been really good recently, but Gustafsson is coming off of a shutout just last night. But he's playing at home against the Buffalo Sabres on the 29th, so on Saturday as well. The Sabres are a pretty strong matchup for goaltending, even though they did score 9 goals on Friday night. I do think that Wallstedt should have a very strong matchup here against the Sabres. Now, I'm not too keen on Joonas Korpisalo, but he's the other goalie that has a pretty decent matchup against a Red Wings team that has had some offensive struggles in the last couple of weeks. The Bruins have been pretty strong as a team overall. They still are giving up quite a bit of chances, and Korpisalo I don't think is at the same level as Wallstedt and Allen. So if those two aren't available, I would definitely look to Joonas Korpisalo at home in TD Garden, who should be a pretty decent favorite against the Detroit Red Wings. Lastly, Anton Forsberg versus the Vancouver Canucks. He is on the LA Kings, playing Saturday at home in LA against the Vancouver Canucks, a very strong defensive team. The only problem is they don't give up a lot of shots, which means they don't give up a lot of chances. So if Anton Forsberg gives up 3 goals on 20 shots, it may be a lower scoring night for him. But I do think the option against the Vancouver Canucks is pretty strong. They're not really the best offensive team. LA should be heavy favorites in this game. So for goalie streamers this week, these are definitely my priorities going into week 8. Okay, so let's jump into some of my favorite ads going into week 8. These are guys that are more long-term ads and not as much streamer options. So starting us off with Matt Coronato of the Calgary Flames, one of my favorite sleepers going into the season. He's had a slow start, but has really picked up his game. He's averaging 17 minutes and 10 seconds average time on ice, has 12 points, 4 of those points in the power play, but the big numbers for Coronato here are 62 shots on goal and 116 shot attempts. He's playing line 1, power play 1. The minutes are scaling up beyond that 17 minute per night rate, and his 62 shots through 17 minutes and 10 seconds average time on ice is the 21st best shot rate in the NHL. He's been added across a lot of my leagues, and his ownership percentage is starting to climb very fast right now. So I think this is a really good opportunity to get a guy that could surpass 200 shots and 25 goals this season. Moving on, Simon Nemec of the New Jersey Devils at 30% rostered. The average time on ice definitely does not show what his average time on ice has actually been over the last couple of weeks. So he's averaging 19-10 average time on ice, 12 points, 0 points on the power play, 28 shots, and 35 blocks. But over the last 2 weeks, he's top 15 in the NHL for average time on ice. Just on Friday night, he skated over 25 minutes. That's what I like to look for defensemen that aren't power play 1. Are they still playing huge minutes? And Simon Nemec checks that box. Now, I have power play 1 and power play 2. The Devils cannot figure out their power play defensemen. I've seen Dougie, Hughes, and Nemec all on power play 1 within the last 2 weeks. As of right now, it's Dougie Hamilton. As of 2 games ago, it was Simon Nemec. As of 3 days ago, it was Luke Hughes. So it's all over the map with the Devils right now. But I like the upside with Nemec playing 25 plus minutes per night. He was a former 2nd overall pick. The Devils are trying to get as much out of him as possible. Maybe they're looking to trade him for a top end forward with this Jack Hughes injury. But we'll see what happens there. The minutes have been great, and he's, to me, a priority ad right now. Anton Lundell of the Florida Panthers, I don't think is getting enough love right now. He's a sole center position, 37% rostered. The minutes are scaling up quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. He's just under 20 minutes per night right now with 16 points through 20 games, 6 points in the power play, 39 shots and 19 hits. But he's averaged over 21 minutes average time on ice over the last 2 weeks. He's skating line 1, power play 1. The scoring is starting to uptick. There have been a lot of changes in the Florida Panthers lines, from their 5-on-5 lines to their power play lines. It seems like they're starting to get some consistency. Lundell is now skating beside Reinhart. He's been a staple in the top power play unit. So I love the upside from Lundell here if he's available. I know the center position is typically full, but those who have a lot of flexibility at that position, Anton Lundell seems like a very strong ad. The last forward for this list, there's another list of 4 more players, is Darren Radish of the Tampa Bay Lightning, with Victor Hedman on the IR. Also, McDonough is hurt as well. They are very scarce from a defenseman standpoint right now. Radish, 17-27 average time on ice, 8 points, 2 of those points in the power play, 29 shots, 10 hits, 9 blocks. The biggest thing here, he's skating on one of the best power plays in the NHL. Although they haven't been that good, they have historically been one of the top power play teams. He's skating power play 1 and playing huge minutes right now, 23 plus per night. Had 3 assists a couple games ago, and 2 of those being on the top power play unit. So Darren Radish here at just 5% rostered, to me, seems like a no-brainer add across a lot of. The next set of players that I'd be looking to add for Week 8, Eric Comrie of the Winnipeg Jets. There has been news that Connor Hellebuyck is undergoing knee surgery and will be out 4 to 6 weeks. So Comrie now becomes the #1 goalie on a top 10 team in hockey. A lot of upside for a guy that should be getting the bulk of starts for the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know who their third string goalie is. Please correct me. Let me know who it is in the comment section below. I haven't seen yet. But Eric Comrie here so far this season, 5 starts, 4 wins, 128 saves, over a 900 save percentage, and a sub 275 goals against average. So really good numbers there from Comrie. It may be a matchup to matchup basis for where you start him, but I love the upside. The entire team is healthy aside from Connor Hellebuyck right now. So the team in front of Comrie will still be that elite Winnipeg Jets team that we've seen in the past. Jake DeBrusk here has been on a kind of a tear in the last couple of weeks. 22 games played, 8 goals, 8 points in the power play, 64 shots on goal, averaging under 18 minutes time on ice. But the minutes are ticking up to about 19 plus per night. They're really rolling their top 6 and their top power play units, playing a lot more than they have at the start of the season. He currently ranks number 29 in the NHL in shots, and he's just 26% rostered. He should be a guy that could surpass 200 shots and 30 goals this season. At 26% roster, left wing, right wing eligibility, I see a lot of upside in the long term for Jake DeBrusk. So someone I've added across a couple of leagues right now. I didn't really know what the status of Charlie McAvoy was. He took a puck to the face, and now it looks like he's going to be out for a while. 15 games played for Hampus Lindholm, 7 points, 3 of those points on the power play, 21 shots, 22 blocks, and 21 minutes average time on ice. But with McAvoy out for a while, Hampus Lindholm has now stepped into a pair 1 power play 1 role. The Bruins offensively have actually been better than everyone anticipated this season. I love the upside with Lindholm playing 22, 23 minutes in a top power play pair 1 role for the Boston Bruins right now. McAvoy's a big loss for their team overall, but Hampus Lindholm should be able to step in and play that top pair minutes, that top power play minutes. And there's a huge upside for Lindholm over the next little bit. Lastly, Axel Sandin Pellikka of the Detroit Red Wings, one of their many European big name prospects, a former top 10 pick in the NHL draft, a very highly offensive defenseman per his scouting report. The biggest downside to Sandin Pellikka is he really does not have any strong peripherals. 25 shots on goal, but does have 82 shot attempts. He just hasn't really been getting the puck to the net. 6 points through 21 games. He has taken over top power play unit as of Saturday, the 22nd of November, with Moritz Seider moving down to power play 2. So that does hurt Moritz Seider power play owner or Moritz Seider owners. A 3% roster for Sandin Pellikka. I think if you're just in a goals, assists, power play points league, I would look to add him. Or if you're in like a 16, 18 team league, I definitely see the upside because it's very unlikely that there are a lot of power play 1 defensemen available. But this Red Wings power play was really good last year, top 3. But they're now middle of the pack in 2025. But for me, I do see the upside of a power play 1 defenseman on a team that has historically been a pretty strong power play unit. That will do it for the Week 8 must add players video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.